Hello, welcome back to the bottom. My name is Beast, and I literally just found out that the last part was file was corrupted again. So after I'm done recording this, I'm gonna have to do the retarded thing. I have to go out of my way to record just the video file from the cutoff point, which is retarded. But hey, what the fuck else am I supposed to do? Leave it not on the fucking channel? Nah. I mean, at least it's still available. At least I have access to it still, and I can recover it. Doesn't mean I'm any less pissed off. Anyways. This started kind of late today. Don't know why. Alas. An adorable yawn is happening here currently. I desperately held back a yawn. Luckily, Sensei had spotted me.
Suzuka-samaよね。ここまで連れてきてくれたのは。
It set a number of alarms after staying up late too. If I knew it, I had changed my uniform and had taken my seat waiting for class to begin.
あんな話をされたら眠れるはずないよ。
For going to sleep last night, what Suzuka discussed with me out of the blue had been just that astonishing.
Hmm, なるほど。参考になります。
時代が変わっても男心というのは変わらぬものじゃ。その通りにすればまず間違いなかろう。
恥ずかしいけど頑張ってみます。
どういった心境の変化じゃ？突然殿方との仲の深め方を教えてほしいなどと。
そのですね、偽浦さんの騒動も一段落して平和になったので、
まあよい。カナも年頃の女子じゃ。そういう話の一つや二つない方がおかしかろう。そう
言っていただけると嬉しいです。
で、その相手はケイスケか？わかりやすいやつじゃな。
そんなことないと思います。
無駄じゃ。カナはわらわに隠し事はできぬ。
Oh, surprise Pikachu again.
なるほど。じゃからあんなにウラとの口づけの件を気に病んでおるのじゃな。
実はちょっと、いえ、かなりショックでした。
すまぬ。軽いいたずらのつもりだったのじゃが。
謝ってほしいとかそういうわけじゃなくてですね。この体は鈴鹿様のものでもあるんです。なので責めるのはお門違いだって分かってるんです。
無理をするな。やはり初めては好きなものと思うのはいつの時代の女子も変わらぬものじゃ。
はい。
じゃがあれはあくまでわらわとウラの口づけじゃ。カナの意志での口づけこそが初めてじゃと思うぞ。
あかりちゃんにも言われました。犬に噛まれたようなものだと思えって。
じゃがカナ、まだお前の望みを捨てるには早いかもしれぬぞ。ウラがお前の思い人だとしたらどうじゃ？
ウラさんが？そんな。確かに優しい人だとは思います。あの状況で私の体を気遣ってくれましたし。でも好きとかそういうわけじゃ。
それじゃあどうしてウラはわらわとカナが体を共有していることを知っておったのじゃ？ウラとわらわは古き因縁がある。坂上家の女にわらわの魂が宿ることはウラなら知っておる。しかしカナの名前は知らないはずじゃの。
一応私は当主ですから名前くらいを調べても不思議ではないと思います。
確かにな。しかし他に符合する点があまりに多すぎるんじゃ。
他にもですか？
酒好きな点。図書室でカナに吹っ飛ばされてもピンピンしていたこと。
See, I was right in assuming that she is 100% aware at this point, almost.
それもそこまで珍しい話ではないのでは。
一つ一つならな。じゃが、重なればそれは偶然では片付かぬかもしれぬ。
そんな。
あくまで可能性の問題じゃ。じゃが、もしも同一人物なら、カナの思いは遂げられたのではないか？
そうですけど、ケイスケさんが、浦さん、そんなことって。
坂上家当主としては、あまりに大きな障害じゃな。じゃが、恋は障害が多いほど盛り上がるものじゃぞ。
鈴鹿様！
決定的な証拠が一つある。それはな。
確かに、気になるけど。
Took a sidelong glance over at Keisuke's face. The evidence was still right there on his cheek.
でも、どうやって聞けばいいの？
There's no way he would answer if I asked, "Are you Ura?"
こういう時に限って、鈴鹿様は寝たままだし。
I'm glad that they are addressing the fucking cut on his cheek. That is suspiciously exactly where Ura was injured during the fight. After dragging me all the way here, Suzuka had fallen into a deep, deep sleep. I sat through the rest of my classes feeling horribly distressed. Stretched my arms above my head as the final bell chimed. Yes, that's it for the day. It had truly been forever since I could lead the ordinary carefree life of a student. It was a peaceful, boring time compared to when I spent life as a phantom thief Ura. I was enjoying every second of it though.
ケイスケさん、一緒に委員会に行きませんか？
Sure, let's go. Kana had been going out of her way to drum up conversations with me for some reason. If there was any change in this consistent, albeit mundane lifestyle, then this would be about it. But again, this was the change that made my school life fun. We walked side by side down the hallway to the committee
あ
room.
かりちゃんと兄様は先に行くって言ってました。
Let's see. I had a feeling that we'd be spending a lot of time together lately. We'd been spending a lot of time. The way Akari smiled at me when she left the classroom earlier had given me that impression. Or was it actually we'd been? That these moments were being tailored especially for us. Does that mean they trust me? Akari was probably dragging Kamikichi along against his will. Either way, it made me happy that Akari, someone who kept watch over Kana for far longer than I had, was making these moments
今日
possible.
は少し暑いですね。
Yeah, it feels like summer's around the corner.
私は夏になると毎年兄様を尊敬するんです。
Why is that?
兄様の我慢強さに感心するんです。炎天下でも決してあの着ぐるみを外しませんから。
Oh. I could see that. Continuing to wear that in the middle of summer had to be unbelievably mortifying. I really wonder how I could get by while wearing that goofy
や
thing.
っぱり暑い日に顔が塞がれてるとそこから蒸れて大変なことになりますから。
Kana glanced over my way. She'd always been a shy person, so it was rare for her to look right at me as she spoke. Would there be a time when we could consistently look each other in the eye?
そのほっぺ大丈夫ですか？
Oh, yeah, it's fine. The wound Kura inflicted on me, though shallow, was still underneath the bandage. Despite my heightened healing ability, it was still a slow process. Perhaps I'd been poisoned. It'll be alright. A single cut would serve as one of the few pieces of evidence linking me to Phantom Thief Ura. It would be in my best interest to keep it a secret
怪
anyway.
我ですよね。顔になんて災難でしたね。
Actually, I couldn't stand hunger. I wasn't ended up sneaking out of my dorm. I recited the excuse I'd pre-arranged with Aoi about my injury. I didn't want to get caught and cut myself on a tree branch when I went through my window.
それは災難でしたね。
It was a total lie, as I'd hurt my leg instead of my face, but that had already healed. Considering Akari and Otome had already asked me about this, I simply repeated myself. In fact, it was strange that Kana hadn't asked me.
長引きそうですか?
Nah, it's almost completely better already. Maybe another 2-3 days.
そんなに早く治るんですか?
Like I said, it's a pretty minor injury.
そうですか。それは良かったです。
I perceived her expression as both relieved yet disappointed. Could this be? Was she planning to nurse me back to health or something? In a nurse outfit to boot? Nah, she would be taking care of me, so it would be tough to rule out a maid outfit either. Both would look great on her, but I think I'd rather see her in a maid uniform. Nursing a single cheek wound was pointless, but my imagination was powerful enough that even silly ideas like that one occasionally crossed my
ケイス
mind.
ケさん、どうしました?
Sorry, the heat is making me a little spacey today.
ですよね。ちょっと汗かいてますよ。
I'm worried how you'll fare midsummer if you're already sweating. I successfully played it off somehow while wiping my brow, but keep my fantasy in check while I was standing right in front of the person they're
絆
featured.
創膏取れちゃいませんか?
It might fall off if I keep sweating like this. I'm sure it'll heal before it gets hot enough for that, though. May have only been a bandage, but these were Ura's specially made bandages. If we get sweat, they wouldn't even come off if I were to dive straight into the ocean for a swim.
でしたら帰りに一緒に絆創膏買いに行きませんか?
For bandages?
私が小さい頃から使っている絆創膏でちょっとやそっとじゃ絶対に剥がれないものがあるんです。
Kana was standing in my way with a desperate look on her face. I get it. The bandages were a pretext. She had worked up the nerve and was looking for a reason to go home with me in her own way. Thanks. Could you tell me about him then? I'll get you a present to say thanks. Let me think. How about a hat? Would help combat some of the heat. Kana's bobbed hairstyle was cute, but she'd look perfect if she walked around wearing a brimmed hat in her summer clothes.
そんなん悪いです。それに絆創膏と帽子じゃ釣り合いが。
I wasn't even close to making up for the amount of courage Kana had worked up. I'd like to buy you something, though. While we're at it, maybe you could pick out a hat for me, too. You'd probably feel more at ease if we were both wearing hats. If I got her to pick one for me, it would make things easier when buying Kana's hat. Poof. I could practically hear her face erupting into
ケイ
flames.
スケさんとお揃い? それは伝説のペアルック?
No, I didn't mean it like that. Her reaction was so much stronger than I had anticipated that it had taken me by surprise. By the looks of it, Kana also had a stronger imagination than I thought.
ごめんなさい。少し考えさせてください。
That Kana! I reached out to Kana as she covered her face and ran away, but she narrowly slipped through my grasp.
ったく爪が甘いやつじゃな。
It was clear that those parting words weren't from Kana. Despite switching places, it didn't appear she was going to stop running away from me. Oh well, Suzuka hit the nail on the head this time. I had to be a bit more gentle with Kana, it seems. Learning something new about her made it all the more worthwhile.
もうカナの分までケイスケに頑張ってもらうからね。
Aye, sir! Kana hadn't returned, and all of our work ended up falling onto me. I silently plugged away at my work, feeling guilty for letting the chance Akari had orchestrated for us slip by. I ran into an unusually boisterous scene as I left the dorm with a
何
yawn.
かあったのかな?
No clue, but that ninja, they're one of the Sakugamis, aren't they?
まさかまた裏の偽物でも出たとか?
They would have told us if that were the
そうだ
case.
ね。みんなで捕まえて袋叩きにする気満々だもんね。
Don't say something so terrifying. Although they weren't making any headway, the Ura search was ongoing. If if we slipped up and were captured, always comment wouldn't end as a mere joke.
ちょうどよかった。お前たちに聞きたいことがある。クーちゃん？
What's all the commotion about with those
そ
ninjas?
っか。今は坂上家に仕えてるんだよね。
Things were anything but calm if the entire ninja squadron had been deployed, Kureha included. Our tranquil morning had been flipped on its head, leaving Aoi and I feeling incredibly tense.
坂上先輩は知らないか？え？だってカナさんは毎朝その送りの時間になっても現れないと思ったら屋敷に姿がなかったんだ。
It was painfully clear that Kureha was observing my reactions even as she spoke to Aoi.
カナさんだってたまには一人になりたいことがあるんじゃないかな。
That could be it. She could have gotten up earlier and gone on a walk or something to the pier. Maybe he was already at school. I was sure even Kureha would want some free time away from the ninja squadron she'd just been inducted into.
どうやら本当に知らないらしいな。お前には前科があるから最有力容疑者だったんだが。前科？何？お兄ちゃん、カナさんと何かあったの？
Hey. Kept the day I walked to school with Suzuka a secret from Aoi. If she'd found out, I knew exactly how she'd react.
実は
Armada's secret was quickly exposed to Kanna's newly appointed guard. Once she learned the situation, Aoi's eyebrows instantly furrowed.
ちゃん、こうしてはいられないよ。ウラがカナさんを狙うかもしれないし。葵？どうした急に張り切って。早くカナさんを保護しないと。ウラと接触させちゃダメ。おい、ちょっと待て。
Aoi let Kureha by the hand and took off running. Now that I was alone, I let out a deep sigh. As trouble brewing all around me, I would be paying even greater attention to how Kana and I were acting around each other thanks to this. Those two would surely prove to be a roadblock in deepening our relationship in the most unexpected of ways. Still, I wonder where she went. If she had switched with Suzuka, it would be impossible for me to determine what she would do. But if it were Kana, who I'd had my eyes on as of late, then I might be able to tell. If she'd really come to see me. Let's put my detective fan on for a second and try to assess Kana's movements. Front doors of the dorm were locked. After that, she tried waiting here until the doors opened. However, the early risers started performing their radio calisthenics and got in her way. It would be embarrassing for her if she waited around here and rumors spread, so then Kana would hide in the bushes and wait for me to come out. Wait and pointed my finger, but my lack of deductive reasoning skills was tragic. Even if she were hiding, she'd pick somewhere a little better than bushes, right?
よくわかりましたね。ケイスケさん、名探偵です。
No frickin' way! The shrubs are pointed to Russell and Kana appeared with an astonished expression. There were several leaves sticking out of her hair too. Like she had been hiding here this whole time. Seriously?!
驚きました。忍者の中にケイスケさんほどの推理力を持った人がいたら捕まっていたかもしれません。
Thank goodness for that. Nobody would have come up with the idea because of how stupidly outrageous it was. However, as a result, I could protect Kana from the clutches of her countless pursuers. Does that mean you really did come to see me?
はい。ご迷惑でしたか?
No, not at all. I'm super happy. I took Kana's hand and showed her how delighted it made me. Was there a man alive who wouldn't be happy when a girl this adorable came to meet him? No, there wasn't. And if there was, I'd slaughter him.
ケイスケさん。
That embarrassment immediately set in and we quickly pulled apart.
そんなに喜んでくれると苦労した甲斐がありました。
Thank goodness she didn't seem to have disliked it. No, she looked really happy. Yeah, no doubt about it.
これをケイスケさんに使って欲しかったんです。
What is this? Kind of held a tiny, old-fashioned looking jar out to me.
坂上家に伝わる傷薬です。 ほっぺの傷に使ってほしくって。
You made a special trip here just to give me this?
門外不出なので、ちょっとした騒ぎになってしまいまして。
I see. It was clear now why the ninjas had all turned out and were searching for her. I was genuinely touched that she had been worried enough about my injury to brave that
見つ
danger.
かったら取り上げられてしまいましたが、できれば私がすぐにでも塗ってあげたいんですが。
Right here? Right now? Kana nodded her head repeatedly. She had a point. It was only a matter of time before the ninjas came back here. It'll be okay, right? So in the worst case scenario, I should avoid letting her see the wound. But it was rough for me to betray the feelings of a girl who had gone to such great lengths for me. Please do.
はい。では。
Yeah, he should not have done that. Like, I assume, if not Kana, Suzuka can probably tell the difference between a wound caused by a scratch from a branch and a wound caused by a sharp implement like a bow shuriken. Even though, you know, the actual traditional, like, knife type shurikens weren't even like knives, actually. Technically, they were spades. But you've heard that one fucking often enough. Anyway. Kana's slender fingers reached for my cheek. The girl was tending to my wounds. The situation straight out of any healthy young man's dreams was unfolding as we spoke. Just before she touched my cheek, I grabbed her hand on reflex.
どうしたんですか?
Oh, you've got a cut on your hand. Did the brush do that?
そうみたいですね。全然気がつかなかったです。
There were countless tiny scratches on her fair, smooth hands. I thought about how these had built up while she was waiting for me in the bushes. I couldn't stand idly by. Let me borrow that medicine. Treating you comes first.
でも。
Just let me do this. It'd be horrible if it left scars, wouldn't it? Snatched a jar from Kana's hand and put a dab on the end of my finger. Sorry if this stings.
平気です。ごめんなさい。心配かけて。
It's okay. Be sad if you were left with any scars too.
ケイスケさんもですか?
Yes, so please sit still. Softly applied the medicine to Kana now that she had settled down. Wow.
この程度の傷なら一瞬です。別に大きな傷には効きにくいんですけどね。
She didn't have regenerative abilities like I did, yet Kana's wounds began to vanish the second the medicine was applied. His ointment wasn't passed down in the Sakagami family for nothing. It was fine enough a product that I could understand why the ninjas were so frenzied to retrieve it. Alright, you should be okay now. You don't even need a bandage.
では、ケイスケさんの傷は
Having pulled herself together, Kana took the jar from me. This time around, her completely undamaged hand reached for my cheek.
いた、坂上先輩。それは先輩でも無断で使うことはいけないはず。私の目を盗んでお兄ちゃんに会うなんて侮りがたしです。
And the peanut gallery has arrived. Sensed innumerable ninjas closing in and around us. Kuria must have summoned them. Kana, sorry, we'll worry about my treatment later, okay? My wound would probably be healed before we got another opportunity, but I told her as much anyway. Took the jar from Kana's hand one more time and... Here, we're giving the jar back! Flung the jar high up into the air, and did so in a rather elaborate fashion to draw the ninjas' attention. All the ninjas, Korea included, vehemently tracked the jar's location as it was seemingly sucked up into the sky. Alright, Kana, let's run for it. I took her hand and broke through the group of ninjas while their attention was distracted by the jar. Even if the treatment could be put off, I wouldn't let them get in the way of her making it to school on time. Not even Aoi, the sole person not misled by the jar, was caught up by the Not even Aoi, the sole person not misled by the jar, was caught up in the onslaught of enthusiastic ninjas and couldn't pursue us. So sorry, finally got the chance to walk to school together and it turned into a huge mess.
これはこれでとっても楽しいです。
Meanwhile, Suzuka on the inside. Ah, yes, such an elaborate maneuver using the attention of his enemies. He must be a phantom thief. Our hands remained clasped until we reached the academy. I felt Kanna's lingering warmth and softness against my hand forever after. This forever after, I'm not being retarded, right? Yeah. Kana walked up to my desk and looked quite apologetic around the time classes.
ごめんなさい。やっぱり呼び出されてしまいました。
May have rather impressively given the ninja squadron the slip, but it appeared her sneaking the secret medicine out of the family estate had turned into an issue. Kana had been summoned and would end up leaving school early to get lectured. Let's see, should I go with you?
平気です。多分形だけですよ。
It was a tiny prank by the head of the family, and Kana had ultimately been the only one who used it. Well, certainly it wouldn't turn into a huge
ケイスケさん
issue.
は私の分まで授業しっかりと受けてください。
Got it. Leave the note taken to me.
期待してます。
She was being considerate of me, and I had to take those feelings to heart. Knowing I couldn't nod off in class had been enough of a reason for me on its own.
放課後には戻ってきます。今日も委員会活動頑張りましょうね。
She went out of her way to come to my seat and tell me that while fidgeting in place. Hand on her head almost entirely by reflex. Let's give it our all together, okay? Got it now. This is what they meant when they described something being as cute as a puppy. An adorable smile blossomed to her face. She acted like she might wag her tail if she had one when I patted her head. She's seriously cute. Kana's face was closer than usual too. Kissed thinly. Couldn't help feeling bashful when I saw her up close. Staying calm and preventing my face from turning bright red was an impossible
どう
endeavor.
かしましたか？
Nah, it's nothing. Without meaning to, I looked away from Kana when our eyes met.
次は体育ですそろそろ行かないとダメです。
Yeah, you're right. As much as I don't want to say goodbye. Luckily, there was a schedule up on the wall where I cleverly looked away, and Kana came to her own mistaken
で
conclusion.
は失礼します。授業頑張ってくださいね。
Good luck at home too.
そうですね。泣かないように頑張ります。
The distressed expression quickly faded and was replaced by a fake smile. It kept on waving to Kana as she left the room and repeatedly looked back at me from over her shoulder. Whoo boy, I keep getting flustered around her. Whenever I was alone or bored, Kana was the first thing that popped into my head. Even now, it felt like a gaping hole had opened in my heart once she left my sight.
Yeah.
A man in a bear costume appeared before me while I was getting changed. Morning, don't you need to start getting ready
い
too?
や、いい。悪いんだけど、ちょっと付き合ってくれないか。
His bare face made his expression as hard to read as ever, but I could tell something was off from his voice alone. For whatever reason, I could tell that it wasn't going to be the same perverted chatter as usual. Sure, where are we going?
屋上かな。あそこなら授業中には邪魔が入らない。
Got it. Put my change of clothes back at my desk and left the room with Kamikichi. Sorry for cutting class all of a sudden, Kana. Something more important than class was about to happen. I knew exactly what Kamikichi wanted to talk about. Hints of summertime were gradually becoming a part of apparent in the now clear sky. As one might expect from the tallest point of the academy, it felt like I could reach out and touch the sun itself from
風
here.
が気持ちいいね。
Yeah, ideal weather for PE.
そうだね。つまり、ここは絶好のスポットというわけだ。
We could hear the distant voices of the students in the middle of PE from the nearby sports fields. Kamikichi was gazing up at them in an incredibly natural fashion.
やっぱりブルマは最高だな。人類が生み出した最高の文化だ。
Why was I expecting anything else? There's something else. All traces of a serious mood up until a few moments ago all but disappeared. The only one here was the perverted bear I knew all too well.
お、あかりだ。やっぱりスタイルいいな。そう思わないか？
Sorry, I'm not really in the mood right now. Leaned against the railing and gave that indifferent reply. Felt like I'd been completely tricked after how overly tensed up I had got.
一番見たい相手がいないと覗きにも身が入らないかい？
Saying that relaxed, Kamikichi threw that curveball right at me. Unable to react in time, we couldn't even play it cool after taking that direct hit.
気持ちはわかる。確かにカナがいないだけであの場の魅力は半減だ。
I wouldn't even call it half.
なるほど。ケイスケにとってはそうなのか。よくわかったよ。
It should be a fascinating sight. The world seems incredibly bland and lifeless without her
今朝
around.
ね、実はカナが飛躍を持ち出す現場を僕は抑えていたんだ。
Almost sounded like Kamikichi was talking to himself as he stared down at the
も
sports
ちろん
field.
阻止しようとしたんだけどね。カナの真剣さに負けたんだ。
You see?
驚いたよ。いつの間にか妹がしっかりと大切な相手のために行動を起こせる女の子になっていたことにね。
Seemed upset yet somewhat happy. As her brother, he was likely dealing with a swirl of complicated
君
emotions.
はどうなんだい？実際のところ。
I'm not sure yet, but she is important to me.
そうか。それが聞きたかったんだ。
Kamikichi turned around and gave me a gentle pop on the shoulder.
カナを頼むよ。思いを押し付けるつもりもない。大切に思ってくれればそれでいい。
Well, it was a brief response, but it put my whole heart into it. As long as I treasured her, any answer arrived at would be acceptable. Kamikichi seemed to understand that perfectly well. He's a pretty cool brother and all, but, you know, if only it weren't for that bad face, it was all it took to spoil everything.
なあ、今このクマのせいで台無しだって思わなかったかい？
He must have been used to hearing it and didn't act the slightest bit
台
angry.
無しでいいんだよ。あくまでこれをかぶっている間は僕は道家だ。
Whether it was the Sakugami household or at the committee, that outfit was heretical. However, there was no shortage of grave situations he had avoided, and times he managed to calm everyone down thanks
これ
to
を
it.
取るのはカナのために行動する時だと決めているのさ。
Are we actually going to see Kamikichi's face? Out of nowhere, he told me about the oath he had inflicted upon himself. I didn't know the details, but it was certain Kamikichi would eventually shake off whatever shackled him to that bear costume and unleash the beast, so to
だ
speak.
からできれば君の前で素顔を見せることがないことを祈りたいね。君がカナを泣かせたら俺はこの着ぐるみを脱いで殴りに行くから。
I'll bear that in mind. The bell rang, signaling the end of our conversation.
戻ろうか。授業をサボらせて悪かったな。
This guy, stuff like this isn't bad once in a while. Our PE grades wouldn't be impacted from skipping once or twice. What it would amount to were some complaints by those who put up a close fight in the ball game due to our absence once we came back. You opened my eyes, thank
ああ、残りの時間 かりとカナのためにノートを取ってあげたまえ。
Kamikichi was a step ahead of me and walked inside, while all too casually showing off that he would always be watching me and Kanna. Better keep a level head. Kamikichi had entrusted Kanna to me with no small degree of trust. I want to search for something I could do to make sure I never betrayed that trust.
.これもいいし、あれもいいし、どうしよう。
Take your time and decide. 30 seconds had already passed since coming into the store. Kana had looked over the menu
ご
repeatedly.
めんなさい。あまり外食しないから目移りしちゃって。
Don't worry about it. Got plenty of time. On the other hand, I decided on my order ages ago. Or maybe it would be more accurate to say I'd picked before even setting foot in the shop. I'd like to try. I'll have what Kana's having, though. If I was gonna deliver that staple line, I needed to wait for her to make a decision. We were at the tea kettle of fortune. It's been quite a while since my last visit, but the shop was as crowded as ever.
やっぱりこっちにしようかな。あ、でもこっちだとセットにするとデザートが。
As was typical of someone as timid and prone to indecisiveness as Kana, it looked like it would take quite some time for her to pick out an order. This had no right being anything but tedious, but watching Kana act so serious and get all flowery as she imagined how delicious each dish would taste wasn't even remotely
決
boring.
めました。やっぱりこれにします。
I'll call over the waitress then,
ケイ
okay?
スケさんが決まってるならお願いします。
After extraordinarily lengthy deliberations, Kana seemed to have finally picked out a dish. I was reaching comfortable levels of hunger, so I happily called over the
いらっ
waitress.
しゃいませ。ご注文よろしいでしょうか。こちらにある。
Kana opened the menu and told the waitress her order. The second I heard what she said, my overindulgent mood was instantly crushed.
本当にそれでよかったんですか？
Yeah, I felt like giving up.
わかりますよ。男の人だけだと頼みにくいですもんね。
Definitely. Sweating, I had said I had my order picked out already. Didn't have time to check the menu over again. Then, after worrying about it for a few seconds, I have what she's having. I ordered in the exact way I originally planned. The shocked expression on Kana and the waitress's face was, at that moment, would likely stick with me for a long time to come.
やっぱりここのウルトラスーパーグレートデリシャスワンダフルサンデーは最高です。
What the fuck is the ultra super great delicious wonderful sundae? And why would they call it that? Yeah, it is. It was an immense menu with names that were difficult to remember, but kind of recited it off without breaking a sweat. 2 Sundays with a name so grandiose they'd make you blush, and with a transcendent size to match were placed before us. When they were brought out a few minutes prior, Kana's eyes sparkled, and I was left
今日は
speechless.
意外と小食なんですね。デザートだけで平気ですか？
There's way more than enough. It was large enough to make me suspicious of whether anyone could eat their plate, man or woman alike. Looking around, there were several girls eating it like it was no big deal at all.
そう
to
で
them
す
at all.
か。男の人ならもっと食べると思ったんですけど。
I'm no match for a girl with a second stomach for desserts.
そうかもしれませんね。
Having a second stomach of sweets was a universal law among girls. Depending on the situation, there were times a man's appetite could never hold a candle to a girl's.
おいしい。幸せ。
Oh, it really is tasty. I've been ready for heartburn, but its sweetness readily pervaded through my body. I had an unusually refined taste for how gargantuan it was. It hadn't left me as bloated as its appearance would suggest.
こう見えて カロリーも控えめなんですよ。だから安心して頼めます。
See, makes sense to me. Girls had their own reasons for ordering what they did. If that were true, I should also be able to clear my plate.
今日はありがとうございます。付き合ってくれて。
By the way, I'm very tired. I did not sleep enough, at all. I was up very late. I don't even remember why. I just kind of looked at the clock and was like, fuck. And so I was like, you know what? I should technically still be able to get 9 hours, 8, 9 hours of sleep if I fall asleep, if I go to bed now. So I went to bed. Woke up at 9 a.m. Which was fucking 4 hours after I fell asleep, roughly. So I decided, you know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna go downstairs, make myself first off, I'll set up set up the upload. Then I'll just quickly drink some tea, take cough syrup and stuff like that. And I'll lay back down. Then I proceed to watch videos until 11. At which point I was like, you know what? I can still get 3 hours of sleep if I wake up at 2. You know what? That's enough for me. So I tried to sleep like that. If I had actually slept all the way, it would have probably been more 2 hours by that time, though. But 2 hours was also good enough. Multiple times my father woke me up hey, you still need to bring your grandma her pellets for her heating. And I just sit there yes, I know. I told you I set an alarm for 2 fucking p.m. And an hour is plenty to bring her that shit before going to do my shift. And then it turns out I didn't even have to fucking do it because my brother was gonna be up there anyways, because he was basically, my grandma's house is basically 3 quote-unquote apartments, small apartments. That's how they built it, because someone used to live below and someone used to live above, namely grandma and grandpa of theirs. Parents of theirs, I mean. And yeah, now they're empty. And now the lower one of the apartments is often used by my brother when he has friends over for a big event, yes, we're gonna all get together, play fucking Magic the Gathering, or we're doing a LAN party. And turns out he was gonna be up there today anyways for one of those, which he can fucking take care of that stuff when he's up there anyways. So he didn't have to fucking wake me up at all. I swear to God, sometimes I fucking hate my father because he does not think before he acts sometimes. I mean, that's where I got it from. Now I'm the one who asked you out.
そんなことないです。誘ってくれて本当に嬉しかったです。
Kind of peeked over shyly at me from behind her gigantic dessert.
私こそごめんなさい。今日の計画退屈ですよね。どうしてもあまり奇抜なものが思い浮かばなくって。
It's not like that at all. I'm having a blast. We started with a movie, looked at some cute accessories, and had lunch. So definitely old standbys, but it was exactly for that reason that who you went with was more important than where you went. The fact that I was out with Kana made the plan in my book.
よかった。一生懸命考えた甲斐がありました。
There appeared to be faint yet dark circles around Kana's eyes as she smiled with delight, but she had gone without sleep to plan this day for us. Same goes for me, though. In my case, I couldn't sleep due to sheer anticipation. Felt like I was a little kid going on a beach trip the following day. It's a pretty astonishing feeling, all things considered. The two of us walked side by side with puffy eyes. Just might suit us perfectly.
鈴鹿様にも相談したんですけど、ちょっといろいろと、ゴニョゴニョで。
You don't need to tell me all the details. I could only imagine what Suzuka had talked about, judging by Kanna's bright red face. She had kissed me without any warning after all. Were people from back in the day more open about stuff like
デ
this?
ートなんて初めてで、緊張してましたけど、楽しいですね。
Yeah, definitely. Those words which casually escaped Kanna's mouth made my heart practically leap out of my chest. Date, word all healthy students admired. What was such a sweet ring to it? Dating man and woman spending time together. I thought that Kana recognized today's event as a date set my heart on fire. Kana was seemingly surprised by what she'd said and stopped eating. She may have recognized this as a date, but it wasn't as if I'd ever explicitly invited her on one. It wouldn't be strange if a girl as introverted as Kana assumed she'd gotten the wrong idea when it was being arrogant. Yeah, I think your date plan is fantastic. Which is why I made a point of stating the fact explicitly.
はい。この後も楽しんでもらえるように頑張りますね。
I am enjoying myself. Courage rekindled, Kana shoveled the sundae enthusiastically into her cheeks. She was being far more assertive than usual. It was looking like there were more fun times ahead. I really piled it on, I'm stuffed.
体力完全回復です。
We were walking through the shopping district after finishing our Sundays. Went window shopping at all sorts of shops. This was unusual for us to do when we were out on patrol together, but this became special when I gave it the title of a date. We really are out on a date, huh? It was the middle of the afternoon. There were couples practically flooding the streets. Were we blending in among them? A little closer. There's quite a bit of space between us compared to the other couples. Even if we couldn't link arms, to at the very least bridge the distance between us. This is a date and all.
そうですね。デートですものね。
Kana was likely to have a heart attack if I were to hold her hand without warning. So I took aim and successfully wrapped my pinky around hers. It was difficult to calculate my timing by utilizing the skills I had cultivated as Buddha. But this might be more embarrassing than holding hands. Thinking pinkies was something friends would do.
兄ちゃん、見せつけてくれるじゃねえか。
Although I couldn't see him from behind, I could sense how vulgar the man was from his voice alone. It looked like we'd gone straight past window shopping and now had a nuisance on our hands. Let's go. I ignored him and began to walk off with Kanna. A little further and we'd be in the middle of the crowd. I doubted he'd follow us if we slipped in among them.
待てよ。無視すんじゃねえよ。
I hadn't exactly been walking at full tilt, but I was astonished that he'd broken through to us in an instant. He had overtaken everything in his path with such superb fluid movements that I didn't so much as notice his presence. There was no conceivable way I was dealing with some mere hoodlum. The art of disguise was among a phantom thief's indispensable skills. Given my understanding of this art, one of my strong points was seeing through my opponent's disguises. This guy's totally a ninja from Kanna's place! One after another, a group of delinquents were slowly pooling together from all sides. Based on the vigilant way they were closing in, these were undoubtedly well-practiced movements. Are they that unhappy that I'm getting along so well with Kanna? I thought I'd gotten Kamikichi's approval, but the Sakagami family as a whole may not have had the greatest opinion of me. That didn't mean they needed to interfere so overtly, though.
兄ちゃん、ちょっと顔貸しな。
One of the ninjas put an arm around my neck. I reluctantly released Kanna's pinky and stood in front of the delinquent ninjas to protect her. No way, I'm on a date. Let's do this some other time. I'll take you on any time. I replied in a clear voice, but whispered the other half into his ear. Their cover was blown. That in mind, they shouldn't want to stir up trouble right now.
デート？てめえのようなガキがそんな可愛い子とデートなんて100万年早いんだよ。
You know, as far as these ninjas were concerned, I was still just some nobody with a sketchy past. was probably a little serious now to discover Edmund's royally blown.
あなた
Kana tilted her head dubiously upon looking at the poorly disguised ninja. It wouldn't be strange at all if Kana knew each and every ninja that faced us. Fine. Let's find out if I'm too early or not. I stood in front of Kana to obstruct her view of the ninja. Kana didn't need to know that someone so close to her was doing anything like this. Before Kana discovered his identity, I would have him take his leave.
なるほど。カナ様が選ぶだけのことはあるな。ある方の命令なのだが、ちょうどいい。カナ様にふさわしい相手か確かめさせてもらうぞ。
Several ninjas soundlessly leapt through the air and barreled towards me. Even though I knew they wouldn't harm Kana, I couldn't help but protect her subconsciously. Whoa! A sharp chop grazed my cheek, nearly compounded my lingering wounds with another.
相手の弱点を狙うのは王道よ。
Seriously, in that case, I won't hold back either. It's most likely wasn't going to stop by simply ignoring it.
男なら拳で語れ。
Although he was well trained, there was nothing I couldn't keep up with if I got serious. Still, it was getting more and more crowded given how many of them there were.
私も一緒に
Keep back! Kana offered her assistance, but I yelled for her to stop. It was less to do with her competency in combat and more the ninjas wouldn't attack if she stepped forward. But Kana, I promised to protect you no matter how hardships we faced.
圭介さん
Blurted out something outrageously embarrassing. Couldn't see Kana's face as she was behind me, but I was sure she had turned bright red. So leave this to me. Just watch. Just you watch. I'll show you whether I'm a man who can protect you.
頼りにしてます
Kana could be quite old-fashioned in some ways, so when a man stood before her, she planted herself in place for him. She was shy and blushing, but I was sure she was behind me smiling.
よく言った。だがこれでどうだ。
Hey! Something had come within a hair's breadth of grazing my bandage. They were mercilessly, purposely targeting my wound. Weren't we gonna talk with our fists?
愛用の武具は拳に等しい。覚悟。
Several other ninjas readied blow darts. I was afraid of stray darts, so I distanced myself from Kana and repositioned elsewhere, so I would be a better
敵
target.
ながらあっぱれ。だがこの一斉射撃をかわせるか。
I won't know unless I try. Focused and stared down their blowpipes. Their exceptionally powerful and high-velocity darts traveled in a linear fashion. I was confident I could dodge darts as long as I knew which directions they were coming from. There were only one, that is. Mob mentality was always irrational, but I was going to prove I was a man that could protect Kana. I had no choice but to do it. Blow darts were fired from all directions on the enthusiastic signal of what appeared to be the head ninja. Their aim was unparalleled, but it was precisely that reason. It was for precisely that reason dodging them was possible, especially compared to Kureha's darts. Although she had essentially sprung surprise attacks on me, her darts were much sharper. Compared to then, as many as there may be, I doubted they would connect. Successfully evaded all the blow darts without them so much as grazing my body. The ninjas seemed shaken, but we hadn't reached a point where I had counterattacked. Sent myself in preparation for the second volley. Huh? The leader cried out and the ninjas instantaneously scattered. The retreat was far more colorful than our initial attack. Are you sure?
ちゃんと依頼は果たしたしな。
Request? This ambush was someone's request. So then there was only one person who would devise something like this. Suzuka, huh? She wanted to drum up some dramatic climax of some sort. Wasn't she aware that over-orchestrating could lead to failure?
さあな。だが見事な手並み、感服した。
Thank you.
カナ様を頼む。お主なら警護なしでも任せられる。カナ様が幸せそうなのに、我々も野暮はしたくないのでな。
With a huge grin, the seemingly lead ninja offered me a bow before leaving the scene at lightning speeds. Was that his way of acknowledging me? Damn. I wasn't given a chance to feel touched. group of ninjas that appeared and vanished, like a storm, had drawn quite the crowd. Kana, let's get out of here! It'd be a huge pain if someone called the cops on us. This time around, I was able to naturally take Kana's hand into mine.
繋いじゃいましたね。
Sure did. Wish we could walk around a little more, though.
騒ぎが収まったらそうしましょう。
Rather than being shy, she may have found this wildly transforming situation amusing and flashed me a smile without equal. I wonder if all this was part of Suzuka's plan too. As much as I thought that couldn't be the case, I was grateful for this unexpected lucky break. Suzuka 100% hit this as, yes, check if he is worthy of her, while 100% planning, okay, if he can somehow get out of this unscathed, he 100% is Ura. I think we finally shook him.
みたいですね。
I'm sorry this has made a total mess of your date plans. We ran from the cops who heard the whole uproar. There definitely wasn't anything like that in Kana's plans.
いえ、楽しかったですよ。ずっとこうやって手をつないでいられましたし。
You've got a point. But now our hands remain tightly
そ
clasped.
れにデートの最後はここって決めてたんです。
Is that right? Running away through one crowd after the next had led us to crossing the threshold into the park. Lovers were flooding the area even more so than back in town. And this time, we blended in as part of the scenery.
夕暮れの公園は鈴鹿さんの提案なんです。
Wow, an unexpectedly decent plan.
そうでもないです。ほら、日が沈む頃には大胆になれるって。
I take it back. Looks like Suzuka was still Suzuka. Could tell she was thinking of us, but she was a bit misguided.
その鈴鹿様の言う通りだと思います。
Huh? Kana squeezed my hand back tightly. She stopped in place and her eyes wandered over to the one and only empty bench. The other benches had turned into love nests for snuggling, flirting couples. Oh, are you sure? Kana gave me a tiny firm nod and I thought my chest might explode. I had no idea how far she wanted to go, but I'd accept her with open arms if that's what she
で
wanted.
もちょっと喉が渇きました。
Yeah, we ran around quite a bit. Grab us something to
あり
drink.
がとうございます。ベンチで待ってますね。
I don't know why my neck is hurting here again. Sure. I was grateful for the intermission myself. Wanted some time to ready myself for these rapid-fire developments.
荷物は持ちますよ。
Thanks, I'll be right back, okay? Left my bag with Kana and rushed over to a vending machine a short distance away with only my wallet in hand. Let out a heavy sigh the moment Kana disappeared from view. I was being awfully daring today. Look around should make it clear that what all the couples here were up to. Kissing was a given, touching each other's bodies when the sun goes down. More than that. Not that that ever come before, but I'd heard rumors that there were couples like that. Coming down, it's Kanna, you know, no matter the setting. She wouldn't go that far. How did she want to go there? Little brag, but I was a virgin myself. I was utterly inexperienced in making judgment calls on anything of this variety. Anyways, Kanna's safety is my #1 priority. Bought drinks for two and persuaded myself again and again. To be honest, I wanted to down some booze to bet myself up about now. Head of Kanna's first kiss reeked of booze. Was it planning to go in for the kiss? Anyways, better head back. Having worn myself out from answering my own internal and wildly unprovocative questions, I headed back to the bench where Kana was waiting. Or just a sad act, depending on the situation. Hi, Suzuka. Surprising. Oh, she spotted me already. Kana gave me a huge wave the second I stepped into view. Considering what was going on around her, it was probably helplessly embarrassing to be there all alone. Quickly jogged back over to her. Sorry to keep you.
むしろ早いくらいです。
Must have been emotionally embracing herself, too. May not have been enough time for her to do so. I assume you're okay with tea? I handed her a can of tea and traded her for the bag I had left with her.
はい。あ、ケイスケさんも同じなんですね。
Yeah, I didn't want us to fight over it.
鈴鹿様じゃないんですから、そんなことしません。
I know, kidding. Kind of sulked and brought the can to her mouth. It's kind of sexy, actually. Today, for the very first time, I paid very close attention to Kanna's lips. Same lips I'd glanced over countless times since our kiss. They were a slightly darker shade of red than usual. Had she applied rouge? Crap. Should have noticed and complimented her at the start. I'd ignored Kanna's efforts to dress up. It would be too embarrassing to comment now since it meant admitting I was paying attention to her lips. Anyways, better have some tea and calm myself down. I glanced away from Kanna's lips and poured the tea down my throat bit by bit. Some fellow places I passed the time toying around with the bag in my hands. The zipper seemed to be in a different spot from when I handed it to Kana. Yep! I fucking knew it! She searched it! Not that it would be bad if she saw anything in here.
どうしました？ぼーっとして。
Oh, come on! I fucking held it so as much would come out as possible, and the second I moved to, like, check if there's still anything in there, immediately shit drips on my shirt. I fucking hate it. No, not at all, maybe I'm just a little tired.
よく走りましたもんね。
I felt increasingly sorry for Kana as she smiled so innocently. Doubted Kana would look inside my bag without permission. I was definitely mistaken about the zipper.
もう飲み終わってますね。捨ててきます。
It's okay, I can handle
買
that.
ってきてくれましたから、それくらいさせてください。
Kana took both of our empty cans and stood up. Something I will say. When I have a backpack, when it's closed, like usually backpacks have like 2 zippers. Assume that's how he also could have it in a different position, logically. I always have both zippers all the way at the bottom on one side. It bothers me if that's not the case. I hate people who are like, ah yes, let me open it like this and close it like this. Kana took both of our empty cans and stood up.
あれ？
Huh? All of a sudden, Kana staggered in a blatantly artificial
立ち
way.
くらみが。
Hey! I didn't know anyone that would outright state that they were dizzy before passing out. Then again, I wouldn't afford to just leave her be when she was staggering. She was reeling her way in the direction of the lake. It was way too early in the year for her to go swimming. Are you alright?
はい。ありがとうございます。
I held Kana back in my arms, but then another unexpected incident occurred.
まだフラット。
Hey! The inner leg trip she unleashed was far too impressive to be called a simple stagger. Not to mention my guard had been down. I lost balance and fell back straight into the bench. Oh, she's fucking going for it. That! Kind of fell down after me, so I hugged her in my arms to protect her. Alright, you didn't hit anything?
ごめんなさい。ご迷惑を。
Nah, it's fine. I panicked the moment I realized my current predicament. After falling to the bench, Kana fell and was essentially straddling on top of me. Even compared to the couples deliberately feeding each other up around us, this was one hell of a daring position. Sorry, it was not on purpose. I tried to pull my hand back from around her, but for some reason I felt paralyzed in place. It's like my body, rather than my mind, was opposed to letting go of Kana right now. Essentially hugging and gazing each other from point blank range through my eyes to her soft lips, whether I wanted to or
ケイ
not.
スケさん、
Kana?
我慢しないで。いいんですよ。
Ah! Kana snuggled up closer to me and drew circles with her finger against my chest. I thought I had adequately prepared myself, but this was unfolding way too quickly. Wait a second, could this be moving so quickly? Because a theory came to mind. But Kana currently in my arms.
ど
Actually,
うしました？
I spied into Kana's eyes when she turned up to gaze at me. Those glistening pupils swayed and reflected the setting sun. Her eyes weren't golden. They were the beautiful brown eyes I knew so well. They haven't switched places. It means Kana's been doing all of this. Her finger continued to stroke my chest all the while. It tickled, but it felt nice. More than anything, it made me super happy that she was going to such lengths for me.
ケイスケさん。
Kana. Her face slowly closed in on mine. Kana began to shut her eyes. I closed my own in unison. Oh, her breath. I could feel her lips imminently close. This time, we were finally... Ah! I felt a sudden impact course through my chest. The weight simultaneously fade from my lap. Kana had used the recoil to take her distance from me. Kana?
ダメ！やっぱりこれ以上はダメ！
She blushed and actively avoided looking at me. It made how assertive she'd been acting until moments before feel like it had all been a dream. The way she was shivering and hugging herself made her seem like an entirely different person from before.
ごめんなさい。やっぱり間違ってます。こんなの。
Kana spoke in the direction of the lake's surface. Golden-eyed Kana. Suzuki was reflected there.
すまぬ。本当に最後までするつもりはなかったのじゃ。
Suzuki bowed her head apologetically. I had no idea what had just
よく
happened.
我慢してくれた。おかげで目的は果たせたぞ。
じゃあ、やっぱり。
Huh? Kana was clutching a familiar bandage in her hand. That's when I realized my cheek felt oddly cold all of a
や
sudden.
はり、お主が裏であったか。
Suzuka's accusatory statement sent chills up my
その
spine.
傷跡、忘れはせぬぞ。確かにあの時、クレハにつけられたものじゃ。
That's true. Suzuka had a front row seat at the moment I received this wound. This is undeniable proof, but I racked my mind at max capacity to try and come up with an excuse.
これ以上見苦しいのは裏の名が泣くぞ。お前にもカナにも申し訳ないが、さっきのは口づけが目的ではない。口元の形を確認したかったのじゃ。間近で見れば嫌でもわかる。
I see, that's how it is. All the unnatural events of the day had been connected. The ninjas had attacked me to check my agility, especially how I would react to blow darts. They had targeted my wound to check in on the spot if all went well. I suspected Suzuka had made that call, but the reasons were wildly different from what I imagined. And that was Kana's unusual behavior when we got to the park. Kana might not do it, but Suzuka was surely the type to poke around someone's bag. There was nothing unusual about any of it if she had switched places with Suzuka. See? Contacts, huh?
はい。ごめんなさい。
Kana took down the lining of her eyes, and a contact matching her eye color fell out of her palm. The simplicity of being able to discern Kana and Suzuka through eye color alone had brought about this tragedy. Would have been more obvious if I had been paying closer attention. I was worried at myself for giving Kana my full attention on our date, and I was about being tricked. Does that mean you suspect I was Ura too, Kana?
はい。可能性自体は鈴鹿様に以前から言われていたんです。
I see. I wonder what sort of look I must have had on my face right now. Too many emotions were burning up within me to possibly sort them out. Should have run. Perhaps I should have made an immediate getaway and left without leaving a single trace behind. But there was one question I absolutely had to ask first. Then, was everything else a lie? Kana had been on my mind since that night. I believed Kana had taken a liking to me and was pretty sure everyone else thought the same. No, it's possible everyone else was putting on an act too. If that were the case, then I was one hell of a
そ
clown.
れは嘘じゃありません。
The voice was barely above a whisper. Kana told me that with no uncertain terms.
私はケイスケさんと一緒にいられて本当に楽しかったです。
I didn't think those straightforward words were lies. Kept my emotions in check and waited for Kana's next
です
comment.
から、だからこそ疑いを晴らしたかったんです。ケイスケさんが怪盗さんなら、私の悩みも解決しますから。
I keep accidentally calling Ura Kaito because they say Kaito for Phantom Thief. Worries? I was worried about something. The biggest issue that came to mind would have to be.
浦さんに唇を奪われたことです。だから、鈴鹿様の言葉を信じたかったんです。ケイスケさんが浦さんだなんて。ありえないことだけど、そうだったら嬉しいなって。だって、浦さんとケイスケさんが同じなら、私の初めてのキスは、好きな人にあげられたことになるんですから。
Long last, I understood the reason Kana felt strongly enough that she went along with Suzuka's plan to confirm my identity. Now that I knew, all the fury and sorrow I felt just seconds before disappeared in the blink of an eye and were replaced with an incredible and fulfilling warmth. That's no fair, Kana. How could I possibly be mad at you after you said that?
わらわもそうじゃぞ。カナとお主のためを思ってじゃな。
Cast an icy stare at Suzuka, who had basically piggybacked her way into the conversation. Suzuka, you 100% did it out of curiosity and for kicks, didn't you? She was manipulating Kana again. What if I would have to give her a major scolding after all this was over? So, what will you do? If there were anyone else, they would definitely hand me over to the three great families or the police. Capturing Phantom Thief Ura would be a glorious achievement. However, I didn't get the feeling that it would come to that from these two.
どうもせぬよ。別に、今の裏は、わらわたちが捕まえる必要のあることはしておらん。はい。
私たちは、正体を確かめたかっただけですから。このことは、他言するつもりはありません。
Are you sure? That's why I thought this was leading. But I would hate it even more if this ended up causing Kana or Suzuka problems.
そうじゃな。これを仮だと思うのであれば、一つだけ約束してくれればよい。
It's within my power.
できる。というより、お主にしかできん。
As the water's surface swayed, so too did Suzuka's face.
これからも、カナと仲良くしてやってくれ。それで十分じゃ。
That goes without saying. I've been fully prepared to leave this place forever. Consider this a rebirth and plan to treat Kana well.
ああ、たまにはわらわの相手もな。一緒に酒でも飲んでくれれば、それでいい。
I'll think about it.
やはり叱るべきところに突き出した方が良かったかの。
For all of Suzuka's grumbling, she shot Kana and me an utterly adorable smile.
でも、いいんですか？私は、ケイスケさんを騙して。
I've been deceiving you too, you know. I kept my identity a secret, so this made us even. Besides, I can't be angry anymore. Not now that I know why you were worrying and how you feel. I was all but ready to say goodbye. I could spend even more time with Kanna. What more could I possibly want? I realized all too late that she had in fact professed her feelings for me and began blushing. I wanted to reciprocate these honest feelings of hers. So, let's take good care of each other from now on, okay? As lovers. That sentiment implied, I held my hand out to her. However, she gave me a determined look and responded without taking my hand back.
返事はもう少し待ってください。
Huh? I can understand that the person being confessed to said that, but it was tough to make sense when the confessor answered that way. I froze on place, my hand still outstretched.
騙したお詫びというわけじゃないんですけど、ちょっと心の準備が。
Prepare yourself. Really, that shouldn't be necessary for someone who had already confessed.
告白じゃなくて、ケイスケさんと付き合う心の準備です。
may have felt on top of the world when she confessed to me, but for Kana there were many anxieties in
今
her.
のままだと、ケイスケさんに好きになってもらえる自信がないんです。
That's not true, you're very
あ
attractive.
りがとうございます。でも、それが本当だとしても、もっとケイスケさんのために魅力的になりたいんです。
It would have been fine if she had thought about that sort of thing after we started dating. But it was very Kana-like to be conscientious of the oddest of ways. Got it, I'll wait a little longer.
ありがとうございます。
Kana's confession had made me happy, but on second thought, part of me wanted to do it too. I've been waiting for the perfect moment, and it gave me the impression I wasn't so different from Kana right now. Keep acting the same way we have been for a while.
改めて、よろしくお願いします。
This time around, we took firm hold of each other's hand. It was different from before. I would become a different me. Work hard so that I could walk at her side. This day marked the beginning of our new selves. We were out on another Ura patrol today and had been assigned to the route which passed near my dorm. During the trip, I made a quick stop at my dorm and changed to my street clothes. Everyone was likely being considerate of us and had partnered me with Kana again. But then, Kana already knew Ura's true identity.
なんだか、必死なあかりちゃんを見ていると、少し悪い気がしてきます。
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look for an opportunity to get her to stop or something.
はい。でも、こうやってケイスケさんと委員会の時に二人で過ごせる時間がなくなるのは寂しい気もします。
Same here, that's making it pretty hard to speak up. Going on patrol was pointless now, and it had more or less turned into a date. When I think of it, I wonder when I should respond to her confession. So the thought suddenly popped into my head on our way back. We'd established that the reply would come later, but we hadn't set any specific time frame. Maybe Kana will confess to me when she feels a bit more confident. That only makes sense. But if at all possible, I wanted to be the one to confess to her this time. Doing that would automatically mean I had replied to her too. Not having a set time frame made me hesitant to do so, though. A few days had passed. All the while Kana had been approaching me more proactively. She would randomly nestle up close to me when we were out on patrol. Despite this, she'd instantly get embarrassed, break away, and keep a strange amount of distance between us. Just yesterday, she had asked me if I wanted to go into the bathhouse together when we dropped by on the way home. I obviously courteously declined, but Kana had been fanatical in the strangest of ways. Wondered if she was going to barge into the men's bath at some point or another. Made me wonder if these were perhaps all Suzuka's suggestions.
で、兄様がまた暴走してしまって大変だったんですよ。
I see. I was lost in thought, and Kana's words went in one ear and out the other. Thanks to Suzuka's extreme advice, Kana had been proactive to a genuinely surprising extent lately. Even now, she was clutching the sleeves of my shirt while we walked. It was way more embarrassing in its own right than holding hands or linking arms. I'm not sure how this is any different from what lovers do
も
anymore.
うクレハちゃんも容赦なくって、合法的に変態を成敗できるって大張り切りなんですよ。
I see. I give yet another half-hearted response. I knew that, but getting my thoughts in order absolutely had to take priority.
聞いてます。
Yeah, of course. Came to no shock that kind of realized how naturally I was acting. Felt guilty when one of those brown eyes peered up at me.
最近のケイスケさん、上の空のことが多い気がします。
Not at all, you know. I had fun being with you and all. Genuinely felt that way. But that only made me worry even more about how I should treat Kana.
そうですか。で でしたら
She looked down for a moment, then quickly raised her head with resolve in her
付
eyes.
き合ってほしいところがあるんですけど、いいですか？
Sure. Whenever Kana invited me somewhere, it often led to some exceptionally bold actions. I wonder, what in the world would happen today? Heart roared in my chest at the sight of her faintly reddened cheeks. Kept my eagerness in check and followed after Kana, who was strangely walking ahead of me, then at my side. Lover's Hill? Lover's Hill!
沈みますね。
I'm so glad I called it out. I was expecting maybe it is it, but I wasn't sure entirely. But I decided, fuck it, I'm gonna call it anyways. And I am so happy I called it. This time you can't tell me that I'm bullshitting when I said like, oh, I fucking saw that, but didn't say it out loud because I'm too fucking up in my head to speak sometimes. Sure is. Up atop the hill, I nestled up and watched the sunset together with the girl. The situation was unfolding that was entirely common, yet one any person would long for. More dates like these can be nice too. Considered how aggressive Kana had been as of late, but thanks to Suzuka's suggestions. This came as no real surprise. It's been ages since we could relax and enjoy each other's company. Not rushing things and taking it slow really is best. There were still many things I wanted to do with Kana like that. When more of these experiences accumulated, I would fall much more deeply in love with Kana. It's gone late, huh? Why don't we head back to the committee room? As expected, we reported no sightings of Uda on our patrols. I was reluctant to say goodbye, but something told me that we wouldn't get back to our ordinary lives without some sort of catalyst. Kana? As I went to go down the hill with my back turned to the sunset, Kana grabbed onto my shirt. She didn't tug very strongly, yet it felt embroidered. Oops.
ないです。
Embroidered into that spot and unable to move. And then she says,
帰りたくないです。
Then, that very next instant, I felt Kana's presence against my entire back. She had pressed her tiny body against me for all she was worth. That wasn't a decent man alive who wouldn't suspect a sex scene flag when was triggered when a girl said she didn't want to go home. My resolve kept to keep the vow I made, not to rush things, not a minute sooner, momentarily wavered. However, the sight I witnessed during lunch break had stuck with me. Must be Suzuka's suggestion. At the time, Kana had been discreetly reading a relations-centric magazine, the sort slightly older women would read with pleasure. No, not Kana, but Suzuka. Her eyes may have been hidden by the magazine, but her altered eye color hadn't slipped my eye. She was feeding this cutting-edge knowledge to Kana and having her put it into practice. The realization had helped me rationalize the situation. I knew I shouldn't let myself get carried away. Turned around and gently pulled away. Kana, you don't have to do what Suzuka tells you, okay? I spoke to Kana as gentlemanly as I could manage with my hand placed on her shoulder. Doing so forced my exhilarated heart to settle down like my life depended on it. You should do whatever it is you want to do. Let's not rush things. I added mostly in an effort to convince myself. I appreciated how Suzuka felt, but Kana had to move at her own pace. Anything we gained by forcing things forward would surely be brittle.
鈴鹿様に言われたからじゃないです。
Those words quietly escaped her lips. They were overflowing with an emotion I seldom ever sensed from her. She seemed irritated.
アドバイスは受けても実行してるのは私です。したくないことだったらしたりしないです。
I would feel her shoulders trembling against my palm. She'd gone past embarrassment and straight into anger. However, that anger wasn't directed at me.
やっぱり私は魅力がないのでしょうか。
I didn't want Kana to insult herself like that and tried to stop her, but she refused to
確かに
listen.
帰りたくないって言えって鈴鹿様に言われました。でもそれは私の本心だから言えたんです。圭介さんの前で嘘はつけないです。
Kana put all her emotions out in plain sight and went on such a tirade I could hardly believe it was her. She kept on speaking, almost like the thoughts Kana had bottled up inside were spilling out.
私はもっと圭介さんと一緒にいたいです。もっとお近づきになりたいです。もっと圭介さんの笑顔が見たいです。私は
She blurted all of that out without taking a single breath in between the tears streaming down her face. Kana must not have wanted me to see and quickly turned away. It seemed to act as the trigger for her to regain her composure.
すみません。急に取り乱して。忘れてください。
However, with my hand still on her shoulders, she wasn't able to fully turn away from me. She couldn't even lift her hand to wipe away her tears. In which case, I ought to do something for her. I want to learn more about you too. I want to see you smile. Softly wiped the tears away with the back of my finger and gave her the gentlest smile I could manage. My smile reassured Kanna. I want to be with you forever. When you told me earlier that you didn't want to go home, it made me super happy.
本当ですか?
She looked up at me in disbelief. This lack of confidence was nothing new. Her anxious, misty eyes wavered and reflected the sunset. Yeah, I decided that I wouldn't lie to you ever again. Threw Kanna's words right back at her. How happy that made her. But needed Kana to understand. Kana held her hand over her mouth and held back something ready to overflow. Exchanging a new stream of tears spilled over down her cheeks. Wiped them away while strengthening around my resolve. The deadline for my relayed response to her confession was now or never. I love you, Kana. It wasn't in my nature to be roundabout. I decided to tell her how I felt in that moment, no tricks or otherwise. The idea that you're not attractive is stupid. My heart feels like it's going to explode. It had been pounding away like crazy ever since she took residence in my mind. After she told me how she felt, the pounding only became more thunderous. And now that I told her how I felt, that pounding was at its most explosive. Kana was squirming in place and looking away, her cheeks bright red. My face was there at point-blank range. She couldn't escape by simply turning away a little.
ありがとうございます。私も、ケイスケさんが好きです。
Despite her bashfulness, Kana managed to somehow put her feelings into words. She mustered the courage to look up at me. Our gazes clashed at full force. Her face had turned the deepest shade of red imaginable. My face was burning hot too. If I was as red as she was, it would be quite the predicament. If I were as red. Oh man, my heart won't stop racing. Neither of us could take it and both looked away. Those practically mirrored movements made us feel oddly synchronized.
ダメです。いえ、ケイスケさんじゃなくて。
With some confusion, Kana softly pointed at her own chest. By the looks of it, Suzuka must have made a wisecrack. Considering it as Suzuka would be an ideal setting for her to make fun of us.
ちょっと緊張して気を失いそうになっちゃって。
Get it? You're about to let her switch places?
はい。でも、今だけはダメです。邪魔はしたくないそうです。眠ったみたいで。呼びかけても返事がないです。
I see. At truly important moments like these, it seemed even Suzuka knew how to read the mood and be considerate of Kana. Man, I can't tell if Suzuka is a good or a bad person.
そうですね。でも、鈴鹿様のおかげで、こうしてケイスケさんと、
Confirmed our current situation, embarrassment welled up inside me yet again. But I couldn't back down now, nor did I intend to. I get it. Let's thank Suzuka some other time. Suzuka was the person who worried about our relationship more than anyone else. Although she was a troublemaker above and beyond that.
鈴鹿様は、お祝いを言いたいだけだったみたいですよ。
I'm sure she would poke fun at us plenty more than that, though.
それはそれで、予行演習になってよかったかもしれません。
Yeah, maybe. We couldn't afford to keep this from everyone in the committee. Banter even greater than Suzuka's was definitely waiting for us after this. But I knew I'd feel a warmth in their ribbing, too. I'd come to realize that was the sort of people they were in our short time together.
冷やかされた時の心構えをしたいので、少し時間をください。
I need to brace myself, too.
それに、ちょっと恥ずかしくなってきました。
Kana spun away from me. She crossed her hands behind her. She tried to cool her fiery face. Being unable to see her face that I'd been constantly gazing at made me feel unbelievably lonesome. Well, you don't want to see her face. Despite feeling guilty about it, I felt mischievous and walked over to
ダ
Kana.
メですよ。まだ顔を見ないでほしいです。
Don't say that. Kana said when she noticed I was approaching, but I didn't listen. The moment I tried to catch a peek of Kana's face, without warning, my lips were covered with something warm. Kana's face, point blank range. Now, there was absolutely no distance between us to speak of. It took me a little time to realize that the true identity of that warm something had been Kana's lips. Kana partially opened her eyes and urged me for something. I stood there, my eyes wide open with surprise, and I realized what she meant. I was no longer able to see Kana's face, just as she desired. Very fiendish of her. I never imagined she would shut down my prank this way. She might actually be a fearsome girl. My entire consciousness became focused on our overlapping lips. Couldn't get that soft sensation out of my mind for a long time. At long last, that feeling had returned to my lips with Kanna's genuine intent. Hold on, let me check something real quick. For the uninitiated, I made a poll earlier today. It's a little bit longer at this point. It is a poll on if I should just play Hoshizoru no Memoria Eternal Heart after I'm done with this game, or if I should make another poll. And I already said that for just make another poll to win, it'll have to have like a massive fucking advantage over Eternal Heart, because I actually want to play that, you know, except for Chinami's After. Fuck it, Chinami's After. Anyways, I was planning to give me a flood of emotions. But is it okay if I hug her? I was about to put my hands around her back, but I gave up on the idea. And his hands were still crossed behind her. For now, being connected in one place was plenty. In this moment, I simply wanted to feel the sensation I had experienced even in my dreams. It may have been a few seconds, it may have been several minutes. After what felt like both an instant and an eternity, Kana's lips pulled away from me. I mean, it ain't an hour, you know.
鈴鹿様ばかりずるいですから。
There before my opened eyes was Kana, who shot me a shy yet somewhat impish smile. That smile captivated my heart all over again. Neither the greatest detective nor the highest decorated officer could hold a candle to her. That smile acted as my ultimate handcuffs. Yeah, that was your first kiss, huh?
よかった。好きな人とできました。
Kana's eyes glistened as I brought her into a soft embrace. The afterglow of sunset at our backs continued to wholeheartedly embrace until its final traces faded away. It's gotten pretty late. I had been given a rather time-consuming task during today's committee meeting. Everyone completed their tasks in record time and headed home already, so I was responsible for looking up. So this isn't so bad. Since this committee fundamentally acted as a group, we'd all go home together if we finished at the same time. With the Ura conflict at a standstill, it only made sense that Kana and I had less time to spend together, which was why I was very much looking forward to leaving. Sorry for the wait. And heading straight for the classroom to see the person I wanted to see most. Illuminated the setting sun at her window's side seat, Kana genially closed the book she had been reading, looked up and smiled.
いえ、今来たところですから。
What's up with the practically stapled date
似
response?
たようなものじゃないですか。
Kana smiled adorably. Even tiny jokes felt novel when they came from Kana. Our relationship had reached a point where we could tease each other. How many people have been there in my life that I'd gotten so close to? I used to be proud of how few there were, how private I had become. Aren't you a little early though? I even cleaned the committee room at top speed
いい
too.
え、 計算通りでしたよ。ちょうど本を一冊読み終えるくらいだと思っていました。
Huh. I assumed she would praise me, but she smiled fiendishly
だっ
instead.
て、あの仕事、私がケイスケさんに割り振ったんですから、他のみんなが仕事を終えて、部室を出て1時間程度、ぴったりです。
Seriously? That's impressive. I hadn't been a member of the committee for long, so I was astonished she understood how efficiently I could work so perfectly. I doubted anyone else could accomplish as much, even if they
ケイ
tried.
スケさんのことはずっと見てましたから、委員会でのケイスケさんについては、私が一番詳しいです。
Kana held her chest out triumphantly. She was able to say that with such confidence, too. It was a tiny, genuinely massive transformation Kana had gone through since I had met her. Alright, let's have you challenge Aoi to a game of Keisuke Millionaire sometimes.
それはまだダメだと思います。一緒に過ごした時間の長さは簡単には超えられません。
Was it due to the sunset? Her ever so slight gloomy smile looked awfully lonely to me. Don't say that. Gently hugged her.
いいんですか？見られちゃいますよ。
School gates weren't locked yet, and it was entirely possible a student or teacher could pass by. Still, I couldn't ignore Kana when she looked so lonely. Well then, I'll spend all my time after this with you, okay?
そうですね。なら、いずれは葵ちゃんよりも詳しくなれるかもしれないです。
Someday, what are you talking about? No matter how close she got, Kana would never be would be fully sure herself, so I hugged Kana, her expression still dispirited, tightly in my arms and still her lips. That look of astonishment lasted only a moment. She immediately closed her eyes, relaxed, and returned my kiss in my arms. We exchanged kisses every day since my confession. In fact, our kisses only grew more and more passionate by the day. My tongue, which parted her lips, wrapped around Kana's and freely savored the inside of her mouth. Can you stop, please? Kana's timid tongue eventually began to move in sync with my own movements. Both put our actions together, and it naturally became clear when was best to pull apart. Our lips separated right before we each ran out of breath. The silver thread between us, seemingly reluctant for us to part, reflected and shone in the setting sunlight. Oh, he doesn't know this side of me.
はい、そうですね。私だけが知ってるケイスケさんです。
From now on, there will be plenty of sides of me that only you will get to see, okay?
ありがとうございます。ダメですね。私、どうしても自分に自信がなくって。
Kind of plumped her forehead against my chest and murmured, "But a little bit of timidness is just about perfect when it comes to love."
わかる気がします。必死で相手を思って何かをしてあげたくて、信じていても不安で。
Yeah, that's what's fun about it.
じゃあ、私はきっと恋をすごく楽しんでます。
I'm sure being in love will be lots of fun for me then, because I am filled with anxiety. Isn't that a great thing? We smiled at each other as I petted her head. Timid love wasn't bad either. I believed that from the heart.
ケイスケさん、
Sorry.
私もケイスケさんしか知らない私を見せられているでしょうか。
Kana asked as she lifted her head and gazed at me with an insecure look on her face. What do you call what you're doing
わ
now?
かりません。でも、見てほしい。そう思ってます。
Kana's misty eyes wavered and reflected the sunset.
私じゃダメですか？魅力ありませんか？
Idiot, what are you saying? In place of an answer, I picked her up in my arms like a princess. Kana was so genuinely tiny and light that it was more like her entire being was there in my arms. But are you okay with being here?
浦さんは人の接近に敏感ですよね。
I'd say so. At the very least, we were the only ones on this floor. Then again, wasn't so sure how I would fare when I was more engrossed. Okay, their fucking first time having sex is gonna be in the classroom. Okay. Let me just, fucking prepare. Hold on. There we go. I laid Kana gently down onto a desk. Her skirt ruffled on impact and her pure white thighs were dyed red. It was just because of the sunset. Of fucking course! Sup, you Suzuka! Ah! The second I reached for her buttons, her eyes changed color. What the heck? We were just getting the good part!
いいところ裏ともあろうものが気がつかぬのか
Suzuka stood up from the desk and whispered into
こ
my
の
ear.
階にはおらんな。だが、窓の外まで意識を向けたか
What? What's a mishap? Peeping Toms were holding their breath outside the window and staring at us.
接吻までは見られてもいいかと思ったが、さすがにその先はまずかろう。
Yeah, you're a lifesaver. The onlookers, who I didn't notice until just seconds ago, reacted just as I anticipated. They instantly leapt down from the window and ran off if I could investigate.
うかつじゃな。やはり恋は裏の血さえも狂わせるか。
I'm ashamed of myself.
よい、カナも自信を持ったであろう。カナに目がくらんだ結果じゃからな。
I can only hope. Screwed up, but it wasn't a bad thing, if that's how Kana really felt. So now that everyone's gone, we could pick up where we left off.
悪いが、もうカナは恥ずかしくてしばらくは出てこんぞ。
No way. I never thought she'd use Suzuka this way. She had switched places with Suzuka and was probably inside her embarrassed. Inside. And embarrassed enough she could die at this point.
こういうのは勢いと機会じゃ。今日は諦めろ。
Guess I don't have much of a choice. For how upset I was, Suzuka patted my shoulder. She consoled
そう
me.
そう。さっき、カナが一緒にいる時間の長さにはかなわないと言っておったが、
It was a wicked smile that couldn't be anything further from
カナ
consoling.
と一番時間を共有しているのはわらわじゃ。お前がカナの一番になるのは、まだまだまだまだずーっと先じゃぞ。
I think like sharing the same body is kind of unfair when it comes to this. Like I feel like you shouldn't really count that. Oh, true. Felt overwhelmed that an unexpectedly formidable rival had appeared. But it'll overtake you someday. When that time comes, I really will know everything there is to know about Kanna.
その息やよし。失望させるでないぞ。
She adjusted her ruffled clothes and was getting ready to leave when she shot me a smile. Suzuka was a part of Kanna, so there was a ton I wanted to know about her too. I have to put in twice as much effort as normal to get to know her, huh? Couldn't ask for anything better. The more obstacles there were, the more passionate romance could be. I was positive you could reach a future more blissful than anything else once she overcame everything in our way. Can't sit still. After pointlessly wandering around the room, I sat back down on the floor cushion where I had started. Felt like this was my first time being in here. I was in Kanna's room doing her birthday party after all. But our relationship was very different back then.
うちに来ませんか
Oh no, she's instigating. Were there any men who wouldn't be filled with anticipation when their girlfriend invited them over like that? Nope, none. Kana had gone to fetch us some tea, leaving me to writhe alone in solitude. Imagine all the naughty things that might occur today. Suzuka gonna come in with alcohol instead. Well, I do think it'll be difficult though. Those magic words from a girl generally required yet another spell. Nobody will be home today. Considering Kanna's lineage, that additional incantation was going to be recited. Assuming an invitation to her house was an invitation for sex, would be far too simple. Still, it's a tidy room. Like her birthday party, where a bunch of people were present, her room felt kind of dreary now that I was alone. Get it? Taking the battle axe away is having an effect too. It was a fake that dummy battle axe had an intense presence. The room may have given off a leisurely impression with its inclusion. The real one we're here would make fitting prey for Ura, though. I more or less sealed away my bad habits as phantom thieves, but old habits really did die hard.
本物はありますけど、ダメですよ、狙ったら。
Oh, I'm kidding. For I knew it, Kana was standing behind me with a tray full of cheese.
私も冗談です。でも、すごく興味がありそうな顔をしてましたね。
I mean, I can't help when it comes to legendary mystic treasures.
わかりますよ。興味の理由は違いますけど、私も本当に気になりますから。
Although we pursued our interests in history and historical sites, there was one aspect of which we got along perfectly.
あることは鈴鹿様から聞いています。でもどこに隠されているかまでは私も知らないんです。
I knew that of the family.
はい。金のまさかりはこの島のどこかに封印されているとしか聞かされていません。耳にしたもので最も有力なのは鈴鹿様が最後を迎えたという場所に安置されているというものですけど。
Ah, that could be true. I'm sure Suzuka wouldn't want to recall the moments when she was on the verge of death either. There was plenty of reason enough to keep the place it was hidden secret from Kana, which means the other members of the three great families are
ご
managing
明
it.
察です。
Yes, yes, I get it. OBS is back, so either Kibutsumiya's or Sayonji's, the Kibutsumiya's or Sayonji's were watching over it. Having other families watching over mystic treasures are deeply connected to them would both mislead any that would target it and maintain the power balance between them. Three-wheel power struggle between them to ensure no single family becomes too powerful is entirely conceivable. So that must mean you know about Kibutsumiya's or Sayonji's mystic treasures?
それは禁則事項です。
Kana smiled deviously, but it was definitely something she couldn't discuss easily, even with me. Especially with you! Especially with you! Let's be fucking honest here. Like, she could possibly discuss this with Aoi, because she doesn't know about her whole shtick yet, quite. And she can probably assume it. She probably still wouldn't discuss it with her. But yeah. But especially not you. I didn't have any intention of using Kana's feelings for me as a pretext to extract information from
興
her
味
either.
があったんで鈴鹿さんに取材を聞いたことがあるんですけど、でもそんな昔のこと思い出したくもないで取り付く島もなくって。
Giving you the slip does sound like something she'd do. Picture Suzuka giving Kana the cold shoulder in my
そ
head.
れに今の世の中には不要なものですから。
For sure. Similarly to the way the three great families protected the mystic treasures, one of Uda's objectives in gathering mystic treasures was to prevent them from being misused by heartless entities. Not having the mystic treasures and their mighty powers exposed to the world was a worthy desire. Neither Kana nor I discussed the mystic treasures any further.
退屈でしたよね。ごめんなさい。一人にしてしまって。
Nah, it wasn't like that at all. The nervousness hadn't even given me time to feel bored.
本棚の本好きに読んでてよかったんですよ。
I considered it, but I have no idea where to start. If I read books filled with nothing but print, I would attain sagehood without even releasing my lust. No man brought to a girl's room would even have that option from the start, but I obviously couldn't say that aloud. I really do have a ton of books. I would give the school library a run for its money, huh? Huge bookshelves along the walls were all packed to the brim without a single gap to be seen. From ancient-looking books to ones with brand new spines. It's like history was being born simply within those shelves.
それはさすがに。でも特定の分野に関してはそうかもしれませんね。
History-related, I assume?
そうですね。それもこの地に限定したものばかりです。
Just as she said, there were nothing but books related to the history of Miyajima on her bookshelves. There were plenty of history books too, but there were just as many related to
あ
folklore.
まりに昔すぎて 歴史と伝承がごっちゃになっちゃってる人のことをもっと知りたいんです。
See, I think I get what you mean. As far as I knew, there was one particular legendary individual Kana wanted to learn more about. So a person wasn't legend, but was actually currently living inside of Kana.
鈴鹿様はあまり昔のことを語りたがらないんです。
It was the same case during the Badlax incident, but did she not have many happy memories?
だから鈴鹿様の存在を内に感じた日からこうしてコツコツと資料を集めていたんです。
The accumulation of Kana's zealously studious efforts were right here. Kana and Suzuka, the time they spent trying to better understand one another has made them into who they are today. Let's see. Listen, it would take time for me to start reading this text now, but so could you tell me about Suzuka? If she did, I would need to put in the effort to catch up to her. I want to know more about her too. It's absolutely necessary since I'm going to be dating you, don't you think?
はい、ありがとうございます。
Nah, it's nothing to be thanking me for. Considering it was partially to satisfy my own curiosity, it might actually be rude to Suzuka.
そうじゃなくて、鈴鹿様の話はなかなかしにくいですから。
Oh, I
聞い
see.
てくれる人がいるだけで嬉しいです。じゃあ、お茶でも飲みながら話しましょう。
Took a seat on the floor cushion Kana had set out for me and got into position to listen to her
まずは
story.
鈴鹿様がこの地に降り立った時の話からです。
Although it was about Suzuka, it was a piece of his history. Kana was there in her passionate history-telling mode. Completely forgot how giddy I'd been when I first came into Kana's room and listened intently to her story. The details of Kana's story were extraordinarily interesting, even to someone as nerdy as me. There were detailed accounts of the Golden Battle Axe and the noble Suzuka that wielded it in the texts. The stories may have been on the presumptuous side, however, as they mostly told tales on par with children's fables. That's just how ancient the legends of the noble Suzuka were, how detached from reality they could be.
土雲一族と御三家の戦いが繰り返されているのはご存知ですよね。
Yeah, it was a blood-stained history that had repeated until only just recently. Considering Akari and Kureha were victims born of that history, I had already reached the point where I couldn't ignore that strife.
その因縁は鈴鹿様の生前まで遡ります。鈴鹿様はその争いの最中、土雲の総大将に敗れ命を落としました。
More or less had a feeling she hadn't died a natural
そこで
death.
話は終わりません。そこで出てくるのが鈴鹿様が愛用していたという金のまさかりです。
Huh? Just said she lost her life to the boss of the Tsujigoma, though.
負けました。でも金のまさかりは単なる武具ではないんです。
Kana continued to look pained. Their eye color was different, but the way it seemed like Suzuka was telling the story with a regret was emotional
金
indeed.
のまさかりは肉体と魂を分離させることができる秘宝だったんです。それを使って鈴鹿様は自分の魂と肉体を分けました。
Kana's shoulders were faintly trembling. After hearing this much, even an idiot could piece everything together. That was the beginning of the Sakagami family's fateful history. Is that the reason Suzuka resides in the body of the head of the Sakagami
はい。
family?
それでは復讐に取りつかれた鈴鹿様が代々の当主に宿り土雲たちを葬り去ってきたことになっています。この本にはこうあります。その姿はさながら悪鬼羅刹。
What's going around? Suzuka would never... I couldn't bear to hear Kana's voice quiver and yell out loud. Even when Kuda, the descendant of her enemy, stood right before her, Suzuka had a conflicted look on her face and was far from what you could tell demonic as could be. Irresponsible legends that played up their storytelling aggravated me from the bottom of my
は
heart.
い。ですが坂上家においても真実を知る者は もう誰もいません。今、この家にいる者の大半にとっては、伝承の中の鈴鹿様こそが、真実の鈴鹿様なんです。
So even the members of the Sakagami family that served Suzuka, with all her bloodstained history, treated her as a subject of awe. You might call that an absolute ruler, controlled through fear. And Suzuka's fate had extended to and ruled over both Kana and Kamikichi. There's clearly no way that's true. I know just how much Suzuka cares for you. Saying that gave me such an empty feeling inside. In the long history of the Sakagami family, just how many people had fully interacted with Suzuka other than the family head. Suzuka had been feared and loathed and was constantly alone. I finally understood why she sounded so excited when she spoke of her encounters with the first generation Ura.
そう言ってくれる人、ずっと待ってたんです。
Kana dove into my chest as sobs escaped her.
鈴鹿様はそんな人じゃないのに。
Unjustified slander against Suzuka had hurt Kana as well, since I knew Suzuka and could speak of her from the same point of view. I was a special person to Kana in the truest sense. The long-standing connection between Ura and Suzuka may well have bound us together and led us to this point. Kept on petting Kana's head to calm her for as long as she needed. Understand, and I'm sure everyone else will too someday.
ケイスケさんがいるから、私はその未来を信じることができました。
When Kana finished crying, she lifted her head and gazed into my eyes. She had wiped away her tears after rubbing her face into my shirt.
見てください。この段の方なんですけど。
Kana pointed to a conspicuously unusually open area with the shelves packed full of
本
books.
当に少ないですけど、鈴鹿様が伝承にあるような人でないというお話も存在しているんです。
See, if you collect those, you might be able to clear up the misunderstanding someday. Kana gave me a huge nod. Would join the search for literature which portrayed the real Suzuka starting
そ
tomorrow.
れから、私は日記をつけてるんです。
Diary.
私だけじゃないんです。代々の当主はみんな同じことを考えていたようで。
Kana took an old-looking wooden box out of the back of the
見て
closet.
ください。
There were countless volumes inside the gently opened box. Several diaries looked like they might crumble at the slightest touch, while others had a more modern binding. I could sense history through the context of the box
この
alone.
すべてに坂上家の初代当主から私に至るまでの鈴鹿様との日々が綴られています。
First generation, I suppose it would mean the first Sakagami woman Suzuka possessed. Suzuka transferred into that woman and revived the Sakagami family. That would make that woman and Suzuka both the first family head. Diary is a spiritual possession which spanned generations from the first head all the way down to Kana. Huh. Is it okay if I take a look?
もちろんです。いつか人に見せるために書き記しているんですから。
Kana handed the diaries she had written to me. Could tell from the charming binding that it was Kana's. Kind of nerve-wracking, looked like through a girl's diary.
見せられない日記はちゃんと隠してあります。
She has another diary? I was super curious, but I added to the list as prospective collectibles for fantasy wrote at the target. Okay, I'm gonna read it. This particular volume was much more important to me right now. Diaries from the family heads spanning generations also interested me. But this one would be the easiest for me to understand, since the Suzuka that was referenced here would be the same one I knew. See, does Suzuka realize that was Ura?
あの鏡、初代からずっと使われているんです。
Kana looked over at a large antique mirror in the corner of the room. All the details related to Suzuka I spoke to literally took up a majority of this box. From Kana's diary alone, it was clear that each head of the Sakagami family was the only person who didn't treat Suzuka as an object of dread.
お母様もよく鈴鹿様の話をしてくれました。本当に鈴鹿様が好きだったんです。私も日記が読めないうちは自分の娘に鈴鹿様の話をしてあげたい、そう思ってます。
See, knowing you, I'm sure you'll tell fantastic stories. Next head of the family after Kana. I'm sure if sentiments would be carried on. If possible, I wanted to see Kana while she's told those stories up close. Those are my heartfelt feelings. Good work, Kana. For the rest of the day, Kana shared as much information as she could, further emphasizing just how much she treasured Suzuka. Venting all of her pent-up feelings must have come as a relief. Before I knew it, she had leaned against me and drifted off to sleep. It's getting late. Guess I better start heading home. I was sleeping so soundly that I couldn't bring myself to wake her. But I lay out a futon, go to bed, and head back. Tried to remove her head from my shoulder, careful not to wake her. However, an unexpected temptation stopped my hand in its tracks. The squishy cheeks were directly in front of me, and were begging to be poked. I could touch them all I want now, couldn't I? Such a tremendously sweet temptation. Jutted out my pointer finger and softly sunk it into her cheek. Ah, this is bliss. That added a light side feel of its springiness pushing back against my finger. I'd love to keep touching it forever. That desire might just completely take me over.
おさわりは現金じゃと言っただろう。
At least I'm consistent.
しかも布団を敷くじゃと？一体何をするつもりじゃ？
When Kana was sharing stories of Suzuka, she'd randomly switch and interject like this too. It was entirely possible that I was looking forward to Suzuka emerging like so.
もしや、わらわが寝ている間にもう成功は済ませたのか？怖はらんでおらぬようじゃが。
That's the first thing you say when you wake up. Forced to grin at Suzuka. She was the same as ever.
ああ、よく寝たの。
Long time no see. Did you have a nice nap? Spoke to Suzuka, yawned with one mighty stretch. Suzuka hadn't switched with Kana for a while. Not since the day Kana confessed feelings to me. That wasn't unusual in and of itself, according to Kana, but it felt even fairly nostalgic to me.
最近カナの悩み相談が忙しくて覚醒状態が続いていたからな。あまりその状態が続くとカナの精神をわらわが乗っ取ってしまう恐れがあるんじゃ。だからしばらくおとなしくしておった。
Well, that ain't good. That's a risk. Is she all right
問
now?
題ない。お主と過ごす時間は安らげたようじゃな。カナの精神が以前とは比べ物にならぬほど安定しておる。
That's most important.
だががっかりじゃな。せっかくおとなしくしてやっていたのに、どうやら口づけ以上の進展はなかったようじゃな。
That's not true. At the very least, I felt the conversation we had here today had deepened our emotional connection. Deepening a relationship didn't always require it to be
苦
physical.
労するぞ。わらわが目覚めたからには、お主の好きにはさせんからな。
Yeah, I feel like I royally screwed up.
奥手なのが悪いのじゃ。
Suzuka stood up and walked over to the mirror. The golden-eyed girl stood in its reflection. Kana must still have been sleeping and showed no signs of
よく
appearing.
寝ておる。
Let her sleep, she wore herself out and went on an unusual long and passionate tirade.
わかっておる。お主たちの会話が聞こえてきたから目が覚めたんじゃからな。
See, that works out then. She'd sensed I've kind of felt all over again that it was likely nothing that would make Suzuka happier. From where I was standing, though, these two seemed like they had only grown
し
closer.
かし、わらわが好きだなんて。カナはよくぞまあ、照れずに言えるな。
Suzuka spoke to the mirror with an astonished tone. The way she was blatantly hiding her discomfort was funny enough to be charming. She can say it because that's how she actually feels.
そうか。そういうものかもしれんな。確かに。
After gazing far off into the distance, she nodded. It looked like she'd come to terms with that revelation. She was reminded of all the times they had spent together to this
それ
day.
でどうじゃった？ わらわの過去などつまらんかったじゃろ。
Not at all. Suzuka turned back to question me, and I shook my head strongly side to side. Wasn't that the story of a hero who fought to protect the island? It was pretty cool.
無理しないでよいぞ。同情も世辞もいらぬ。
It's no sympathy. I mean, I'm not acting shy at the moment, am I?
なるほど。確かにそうじゃな。ならば素直にその言葉を受け取っておこう。それに、お主はカナの前では嘘をつかないと誓っておるしな。
Yeah, I did. Suzuka was in a good mood. Looks like my sentiments made it across to her
し
side.
かし、お主は変わり者じゃな。わらわのことを知っても全く怖がらぬ。初代の裏もそうじゃったが、そういう輩は大抵、よほどのバカか、肝が据わっておるかのどっちかじゃな。
I'm proud to say I'm both.
なるほど。それは結構。両方備えているくらいでなければ、カナは任せられん。
With an amused smile, Suzuka gave my shoulder a few firm pats. She smacked me without keeping her inhuman strength in check, so it honestly hurt. Seeing her smile made me happy, and I couldn't help but smile back at her.
そうじゃ。できれば、時々でいいから、わらわとも話をしてくれぬか。
Suddenly she stopped patting my shoulder and made that shy
お
proposal.
主との会話は楽しい。いい暇つぶしになる。
For someone as unconstrained as Suzuka, this was the first time she was waiting on me to react. Perhaps this unusual behavior was how she truly
ダ
felt.
メか。
I don't mind at all. I want to talk to you more too.
ありがたい。
Her anxious expression quickly turned to a full-fledged
よろしく
smile.
な、ケンスケ。
Sure. She looked the same as Kana, but her smile was attractive in its own way that it gave me a twinge in my chest. But watch out, I'm dealing with Suzuka, she isn't Kana. I persuaded myself, knowing I should repress my pounding
喜
heart.
べ。その時は、漏れなくカナのマル秘情報を教えてやるからな。
I'm looking forward to it. Suzuka's impish smile was one I was very familiar with, so that helped me calm down. Suzuka was still Suzuka, but she'd have me and Kana both wrapped around her finger in the days to come.
で、これからどうする？今ならこの体にエロいことし放題じゃぞ。
Suzuka briefly flipped her hem upward and flashed her fair thighs at me. They were so radiant that it made me audibly gulp. Can't control yourself, Keisuke. She wanted me to follow through on her provocation. But if I were to lay a hand on her now, it would be a repeat of the kiss with Ura. I had to make sure that I initiated anything of the sort with Kanna. Never mind, go back to sleep. Brushed off that demonic invitation, declared loudly as much.
よいよい。ここで手を出すような男であれば、わらわが成敗しておった。
We're leading me on.
さすが裏じゃな。自制心は大したものじゃ。血は争いぬか。
This woman tempted the first generation in the same way. So he had self-control as steel. If it were Grandpa, he would 100% have gone in for the kill. Oh hey, this just occurred to
安
me.
心せ。カナといい感じの時には、わらわは眠っていてやる。
Suzuka replied almost as if she had seen through the inner workings of my heart. Sure as hell wouldn't let it slide if Suzuka were to accidentally emerge when Kana and I were trying to be intimate.
かわいいの。やはりお主になら抱かれてもよいぞ。いや、むしろ抱いてやりたいくらいじゃ。どうせお主、まだ童貞じゃろ？
Give me a break, I'm begging you, go back to sleep already. I already knew that Suzuka wouldn't use Kana's body that way. Still, it was a man's tragic nature that my heart would race all the same. Turned around and attempted to leave the room to avoid any further confusion by her attempts to seduce me.
ういういしいの。本当に食べたいくらいじゃ。
I heard a plopping sound, and I turned around. She faithfully did as I said and had gone back to sleep. And both Kana and Suzuka were asleep. What should I call the girl before me? Anyway, I'd better get her into the futon, she'll catch a cold. Her eyes were shut, so I couldn't tell whether it was Kana or Suzuka at the moment. Whoever she was undoubtedly an important person in my life. Good night, Kana. Good night, Suzuka. I called both their names and collected my things. Wondered when I would meet tomorrow morning. I was surprised I had reached the point where I looked forward to encounters like that. Wow. I don't know what I'm doing. Anyways, I'm gonna leave it off here. I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and see you next time. Bye-bye. I don't know why I said it like that. Don't question me.